Hi, Shobit. It is my absolute pleasure to have you at our podcast, Founders of Bharat. I'm extremely excited to host you and learn from your experience during our conversation. So, Shobit, can you give me a brief introduction about yourself, about your education, what have you studied, and how did you start your company?
So thank you so much, Urvi, first of all, for kind of setting this up and for inviting us on this podcast. I'll give you a quick introduction. So I am an engineer and a MBA by background. I did my engineering from TSEC, which is a college based out of Bandra, and I did my MBA from Sydney. I did a lot of other degrees as well. I have a small degree in law and things like this in corporate law, and so there's a multiple different education that I went through. And
Okay.
yeah, so this company today is a Salesforce Platinum Partner. The company is CloudRoute, and it's a Salesforce Platinum Partner. We focus extensively only on the Salesforce platform. There's a lot of work that we've done on Salesforce in general. So yeah, I mean, this company was started around 7 years back. To be honest, it still feels like it was yesterday that we started this. There's not much which has changed. Even in terms of our role in the organization, or in the, in terms of the market, in terms of the way the kind of hours that we put in the work. So it's pretty much the same so far. Yeah.
So, there are two co-founders of the company, right?
Yeah. So one of them
Okay.
is
So,
Pratik.
you guys are
Yeah. Sorry. So your question.
Yeah, so you guys are like relatives or friends, or how is it like?
Yeah. So we are relative and friends both. So
Okay.
one of the co-founder, Pratik, is a good friend. We know each other since almost years now, and the other co-founder is my wife. So so that's how it is. Yeah. So that's how it is.
Okay.
It's like a
Okay.
small family friend kind of an organization.
So, Shobit, having like multiple founders, co-founders, right? There are difference of opinions.
Yeah. Yeah.
There will be multiple discussion, or difference of strategy of yours will be different, and for them it will be different. So,
Yeah.
how do you manage? Like, how do you handle these kind of situations?
Yeah, see, I think, so it's not very different from when you live in a society, right? I mean, whenever you want to basically work with people, there will always be difference of opinion, be it as a co-founder, be it as a normal team, be it, even if you're going on dine with your friends, right? You have difference of opinion on what you want to eat and where you want to go, right? So the difference of opinion is always going to be there. I think, I would not say that we have always done a great job about handling difference of opinion. I think there's always something better that you can do in terms of handling different viewpoints. But I think one thing that has changed in us, or I would say the change in me over the last 7 years, is that, when this organization was new and it was like 1 or 2 years into the organization, the energy and the passion was very high in terms of putting across your opinion, right? When you're young, you're more assertive and demanding on your opinion, right? And you want things to happen only your way, and then that doesn't work, and then you're pushed back a lot of times, and then you realize that, I mean, it's an organization, you have to listen to others as well, and you have to basically make sure that they also feel participating, right? They also feel that their opinions are respected, right? So otherwise the
That
organization can also stay, right? So what has changed over the last few years, I would say, is that you try and at least look at an opinion by getting into the shoes of the other person. So you become a
Hmm.
you become a lot more receptive. Okay, you become a lot more calmer, and you learn to handle differences quite easily. So I'll tell you what I mean. This is pretty much like in a normal relationship, as I would call it, right? I mean, if you would see,
Yeah, yeah,
a young couple would do a lot of passionate conversation around their opinion, right? And then as you age, you
yeah,
look at your granddad and you look at your grandmom, right? I mean, the way they,
yeah,
deal with differences in opinion is very different, right? I mean, they just let go things, right? Because, but when you're young, you want to stick to your opinion. So I think it's a journey from letting go things and, avoiding altercation. It's at the end, what we have realized as an organization, that it is more important to stick together, to work,
yeah,
together, and to try and solve problems together, then win those smaller battles. So I think the smaller battles is, there are times when you lose, right? There are times when you have to take a
yeah,
step back and let the other person do what he wants to do, right? And then
right.
even if it goes wrong, it doesn't mean that you go and tell him that, hey, I told you, see, you are a loser, you lost it, right? I mean, I think,
Hmm.
what I've realized is even if somebody loses, somebody gains, right? You can feel temporarily happy or sad. Don't You shouldn't just pick that point up and go heavily on that person. So you should just let it go, look at the next problem in hand, and just try and find solution together. Just stick together. I see. Eventually, I'll tell you the way I see things is, you fight, and you have differences of opinion almost say 20-30% of the time, but that 20-30% of the time should not impact the remaining time that you work together. And the remaining time, you should make sure that it doesn't spill over. Okay, so that is something that you learn. I mean, and that also comes with age. So I think
Yeah,
yeah. So that's how it is.
yeah. So I think it's always better to look at a bigger picture. And the second thing is you have to step into the shoes of that other person who's having that opinion,
Yeah,
right? To avoid any kind of conflicts and to get into one decision together.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes even if you know that the other person is wrong, you should
Mm,
try and convince that other person. But even if you know that the other person is wrong, you should still let him have his way sometimes, because
mm, mm.
there's not so there's no never see, life is gray, right? It's not black and white. Okay, so so it could
Exactly.
be so you have to basically try and let that other person also feel equally involved. That is more important. Otherwise, what happens is, if you keep taking decisions, if you keep imposing yourself, then the participation of the other team doesn't come well. So that is something that you have to let go.
It's important to feel like to make the other person feel important, equally important
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
organization.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
think
I
same
think,
goes with employees as well. If for
yeah, yeah,
employees who wants to try something new, we need to
yeah.
understand their requirements and accordingly we need to amend our policies or amend our way of working.
No, I completely agree.
So,
And
Shobit, can you? I'm not able to hear you, Shobit.
no, no, I'm able to hear you. You can continue, Urvi. Hello,
Shobit?
Urvi. Yeah, I'm able to hear you well.
Yeah, yeah. There was a suggestion. Yeah, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. You were asking a question.
You were saying something.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So when you started this CloudRoute, I think this was founded in 2016, 7 years, as you mentioned, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. You're right.
So how difficult was it to find your first customer?
Okay. No, no. Finding. Okay, I think that's a very good question. I see. Usually, when you start an organization, you always remember the first, right? You always remember
Yeah,
the so
true.
you always remember the first rejection. You always remember the first customer. You always remember the first conversation which did not go the way you wanted it to be. You always remember the first employee. So yeah, I mean, I think the first customer for us came in after a lot of effort. Primarily because we wanted to start an organization wherein we work on certain terms. We did not want it to basically take work just for the heck of it, right? I mean, we were very clear that we would like to form an organization wherein we would be proud to work, and we will be proud to do the work that we are trying to do. So there were a lot of work which came our way, which were not something that we had our heart into. So we let those kind of work really go. We did not spend a lot of time on those work. But the first customer that we had, it had actually come in, from a country which we were not even expecting to get a first customer from. So we basically were reaching out to a lot of customers overseas. So we were
Hmm.
reaching out to customers in US, things like this. And I remember the first customer that we had was from a conversation, was from an email, which we were not even expecting would revert to us. Okay, so what we decided to do is, we were reaching out to all these countries like US, Canada, and some very large countries in Europe. And then suddenly we realized that, which is a little growing country in US, but it doesn't have a lot of demand. And it doesn't. I mean, no, not many people look at those
Hmm.
countries. Okay, so we thought of Spain. Okay, so we said, okay, let's just reach out to people in Spain. And Spain doesn't have a lot of IT demand. If you see that country, it is not somebody which would be a very large revenue contributor on somebody's IT books. So we
Oh,
reached out to a country in Spain. We reached out to, kind of a executive from a company. And we just happened to drop an email. We just tried to do some calls and it connected. And when we reached out, that customer, the call went very fast. I mean, we were able to convert that lead within 1 week. And we were surprised because we were not expecting any business to come in from those kind of countries, to be honest. So and then that also set up a little bit of introspection in our mind that and that comes from the place that we have our own biases, right? I think those biases are usually very wrong when it comes to business. And what I've also realized is that your biggest success, your biggest customer, the best employee that you have had, the best person that you would ever met, are usually in places where you're not expecting them to be. I remember the best employee that we had and we have come in from those colleges, from those places where we least expected people of those caliber to come from. That practically happened in the case of finding this new customer as well.
Like, hear this story of like a new customer, first customer which you. So, could you explain more about how CloudRoute works? And so, for companies, at what stage should they implement this?
Okay. So, see, we are a Salesforce partner. So, we basically implement Salesforce for organizations. Salesforce is the number one CRM globally, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're looking for anything related to customer interaction, I think Salesforce is the only tool that you should look at, because it gives you a lot of ability to configure and build your business processes on top of it. Okay. So we as an organization, we work with organizations of all scale. We work with the Fortune 100 companies as well. We work with companies which are more than $200 million in revenue as well. And we also work with companies which are smaller companies, which are less than 10 employees as well. So we work with organizations of all size. Okay. So there's no right metrics which says that these kind of customers should use Salesforce and this kind of customers should not use Salesforce. There's no right metrics as such. But I think to answer your question, at
Okay.
what
Okay.
stage the customer should implement Salesforce, I would say the moment they start to interact with customer. Okay. And the customer count increases beyond a number that they can actually remember all the conversation offhand. Okay. So supposingly, you have say a small business have 10 customers. The 10 customers you can remember, what you've been doing with them. But the moment you reach a stage wherein you're building sales team, you're growing out of your comfort, you're trying to build a sales team, you're speaking to more and more customers, you're forgetting what you don't have basically a record of the interaction that you've been doing with customers, right? At that point in time, it's important for you to start looking at a CRM like Salesforce, and it's very important. So I'll tell you today. I'll give you a story, right? There is one customer who we work with, and before he started the business, right, before he basically made the first phone call, before he reached out to the first customer, okay, he actually implemented Salesforce with one license. Okay, that's a close friend of ours. So, we kind of did it for him. So what he did was that so he started by putting all the people who he would like to reach out to in Salesforce. Okay. And then the first interaction he did on Salesforce, so he was very clear that I would want to set the process right the first time and then only start my business, because, it's important that when you're trying to reach out to the customer, you have a method, you have a process. Okay. That method and process cannot come unless you have a system in place where you can implement those method and process, and the system alerts you that you're not doing this. Hey, you should do this. This is how you should be contacting the customer. This is when you should follow up. So ideally, even before you decide to make an outreach to a customer, even before you decide to start your business, it's that place where you would actually need to start getting a CRM or a Salesforce in place. It's even before you take that first step, because Salesforce is going to be with your customer journey end to end from start till end.
Uh, Salesforce is already a software, right? So, you are the implementation partner. So,
Hmm.
how difficult for a company it is to directly approach Salesforce and implement themselves and vis-a-vis do it via CloudRoute?
No, I think that's a fair question. See, first of all, you have to understand that even before, when you need Salesforce licenses, you'll have to go to Salesforce or you'll have to come to us as a Salesforce license reseller.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
you will have to approach Salesforce. So it's pretty much the way Microsoft or SAP works, right? You have to approach Salesforce. The second is that the implementation. See, you have to understand that Salesforce is a technical platform. It's a platform. It's not a tool. It's not like something like Gmail or Outlook that you can log in and you can basically start using it. Okay, it's a technical platform which has technical nitty-gritties, right? So unless you have a Salesforce developer or somebody who is an expert on Salesforce in-house, you can't implement Salesforce on your own. So you'll need somebody to configure and program
Yes.
Salesforce for you. So that's how it happens. So there would never be a
Shobit,
situation.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so there will never be a situation, Urvi, where you would be able to implement Salesforce yourself without a technical understanding. So it always has to be done by the
Okay.
right team. It always has to be done by people who know what it is. It's a pure technical
Okay.
work in its nature.
Got it. So it's not basically like a simple software, or
No, no,
maybe in
no,
a finance we have a tally, right?
no, no,
So
no, no,
it's
no.
not
So
like tally that we can start using.
yeah, so even if you know in Tally also you need somebody to set up Tally for you, right? It's not that you can just start using Tally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so
tally is not that technical that nowadays like
yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
a click.
See,
Yeah.
Tally is a point solution. When I say a point solution, it
Yeah.
means, so see, there's a difference between point solution and enterprise solution. So Salesforce is an
Okay.
enterprise solution.
Okay. So how do you define enterprise solution and what is a
Yeah,
point solution?
so enterprise solution is that it basically has capability to change processes across multiple different areas in an enterprise. So it will help you in sales, it will help you in
Okay.
operations, it will help you in service, it will help you in marketing, it will help you in, your partner relationships, it will help you in analytics. So Salesforce today is a common, it's a pure enterprise solution in this kind. And a point solution is something, which just solves a certain problem like Tally. Okay, so it's an accounting solution. You can't just tax itself on a certain area of work. It doesn't influence something else. That's a major problem between that's a major difference between Salesforce and any other solution of which are limited nature.
Okay. Shobit, would you like to highlight any failures in your past which made you bounce back, or like what went into your mind those days when there was no failure? As you had mentioned that you had a lot of rejections earlier, correct? Before
Yeah,
acquiring your first customer.
yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
think
So how did you
uh,
bounce back?
so. When you say what are the failures, I think there are a lot of failures. Very very difficult to bring out one failure. When you asked this question, there were so many failures that was going into my mind, and I was thinking that which one should I pick. But so see, I think there's a lot of them here. To be honest, Urvi, there have been different kinds of challenges that I've seen. I would not name it failure, but there are different kind of challenges, very extreme challenges that we've seen. We've seen very extreme challenges when it comes to revenue, cash flows. We've seen challenges when it comes to employee retention. We have seen challenges when it comes to managing a lot of different thought process internally. See, I think one thing that I've realized, and this is very different for individuals, right? So so when you start your business, right? So a business basically takes 100% of your time. I mean, more than 100% of your time. It just it's always on your mind. I'll tell you a situation, right? So me and my wife have been doing this. We started this company together, and I think what we have done in our entire life is just talk about this business. We have not been able to do and give each other the time that we had thought we would be able to give. So and 7 days a week, 24/7 is something that you're only talking about this business, right? So it's like your child, it just takes complete bandwidth from you. So it's the challenge, and I think that is the biggest challenge for me. I think the way I've seen it is that for any business owner today to separate time and build a personal and a professional boundary between every area of work that you do with your founders, with your team, with your business. I think that is very difficult to do today because the market is tough. You want to stay ahead. There's a lot of intensity. You have a lot of passion, so you want to keep running. You want to keep driving, right? So it takes a toll on everything. Urvi. It takes a toll on relationships. It takes a toll on your health. It takes a toll on your mental peace. But I think in the last few years, I have personally been able to become a lot more receptive to the nature of business ownership. So when you're an entrepreneur, and I'm sure you are an entrepreneur as well, Urvi, you would realize that being an entrepreneur is a thankless job. Okay, nobody would come and pat your back and say you did a good job. So you are always a firefighter. Okay, anything wrong that happens in the organization will only come to you. Anything good that happens in an organization will never come to you. That's what it is, right? So nobody taps your back. You are always at the receiving end of things, and you are always firefighting. So you are a firefighter. So And the sooner you realize that, okay, so I'll tell you the problem is that we think that if it's like, okay, when we were child, people used to say that, when you'll go in secondary, life will be good. Then people should say when you'll go in your, colleges, life will be good. Then people would say, then when you'll do a job, that life would be good. Then people would say when you'll be married, the life will be good. And people should say then, when you have a kid, your life will be good, right? So you have to realize that, and that never happened, right? We have been through that phase. So that never happened. The life has its own challenges at each phase, right? So as you grow. So that's pretty much the same thing which I see in business as well. And which I completely agree. The same thing that is going to go ever, as you grow older, that the sooner you realize that even in future the challenges are going to be there. It's not that the future is going to be any quiet or any peaceful, or it's going to basically ease your life and you will be like, now I'm set, and now my life is great and things like this. I think if you are expecting that kind of a life, then business is not for you. So over the last 3-4 years, we have realized, and I personally have realized that yesterday, today, and tomorrow, everything is going to be challenging. Okay. So if you would want to wake up tomorrow and you're ready to face it, then you get into this. If you're not ready to face it, okay, then this is not something that you can do. So you should try and introspect and find something different. So this has been my biggest learning so far, in terms of how I see challenges and how is I see biggest failures and things like this. Because I am telling you, my biggest challenge and my biggest failure and my biggest success, all of these things are yet to come. So it's not that something that I can be comfortable saying कि यार यही मेरा biggest था और ये मेरा biggest.
But interesting. I agree with you that it's very difficult for you to separate yourself from the business. Like,
Hmm.
as you mentioned, you and your wife started, even me and my husband, we started. And it's
Hmm.
actually very difficult. I can totally
Hmm.
relate. Like, our
Yeah,
discussions are majorly around the business. Even if we are on vacation, it's about business only. So it's
absolutely.
very difficult to separate.
And uh, and and
Correct.
and
So,
how, and how long have you been doing this, Urvi? I mean, when
so we are since 5 years. We completed 5 years in December.
okay, so you also have had your fair bit of learning on how to deal with these things.
Yeah, we did. We did. Lots of learning, lots of ups and downs. Because there was a pandemic in the middle as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we had a lots of
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Makes
So,
sense.
Swapit, you never thought of doing a corporate job. You always wanted to start your own thing, or you
No,
did
no, no.
work
No,
in
no.
a corporate.
Oh, I've worked in corporate. I've worked in multiple corporates. So, uh, see, I always wanted to do something of my own. At least, I wanted to give it a shot. I wanted to try, because see, the thing about me is I always do everything with great passion. So if I can't be passionate about things, I can't fake things. So if I'm not passionate about the work that I'm doing, I would not just keep doing it because I'm getting a salary for it. Okay, so I need to like what I'm doing, and that has been my problem, or that has been. Yeah, are you able to hear me now, Urvi?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. There was some.
Yeah, just 1 second, Urvi. Let me just change my internet connectivity if that's okay for you. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, the point that I was trying to make is that I have done corporate job, but I realize that if you want to be really passionate about the work, why don't you start your own? Because when you start your own, I mean, you're able to put more energy, more dedication, and and things like this. So I think so far I would say, if I compare it with the business ownership, I think more or less things are the same. It's just that in corporate job there's a bit more uncertainty when it comes to future. But in your business, you can at least, if not anything, make your own future, right? In a corporate job you can't make your own future, so you're just a part of a thing, and you have to basically fall in line with a lot of other things. But yeah, I mean, I have done corporate jobs were a lot more peaceful. At least I had my evenings. At least I had my weekends. You
Weekends.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think yeah. I mean, that's the price we pay, right? For this. But you learn at the end of the day a lot, right? That's yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And this sense of satisfaction that we have when we are doing setup, like we have our own business, it's more than what we get in the job. Like at
yeah.
least I feel that. Not sure about others.
No. I agree, but see, I'll tell you what, Urvi. So even see, even business also, Urvi, if you would see it, right, after a certain point in time, you tend to become a lot more. Your mind tend to becomes a lot more operational. Okay, in a sense that you are not chasing satisfaction now. You are basically. I'm not sure, Urvi, what is the situation with you guys, but you have a lot of bills to pay. You have a lot of work that you need to do. You have to get going as a business, right? So if tomorrow given a choice that Shobit, will you want to do this kind of a work, or will you want to do a kind of a work which is not what you would want to do, but can basically put food on the table for a lot of your team? You would choose the latter, right? I mean, I think that's how you would basically do, right? So in my mind, there are a lot of things even today from a satisfaction point of view. I would say that the more you spend time with business, even the business tends to become a lot more routine, a lot more methodical, a lot more operational than something which is more passionate, right? Because you can't really continue on the passion for a long time.
I agree to that point. So the when I said satisfaction, that was like even if you're working on weekends or even
Hmm.
if you're working on holidays, you get that sense of thing that no, that's fine. I'm okay to work because I want to achieve something.
Hmm.
Whereas if you are in a corporate job, working on weekends or working on holidays, it's like we don't like working on weekends, right? So by sense of satisfaction, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so
yeah.
yeah. I completely agree with you that when you work on weekend, you don't feel
Hmm.
bad about it.
So, Shobit, just one last question. So, when you started up CloudRoute, how was your journey from formation of the company to all getting all the registrations done? How was it? How was the journey?
Yeah, so I would say, see, I mean, when we founded this company, right, we were basically like every other young person who wants to start something new. We were thinking what we wish we would be doing, how would things work out, where will we get our customer from, what services should we stick to. So there's a lot of confusion in mind, right, around what is your go-to market going to be, what are you going to go and do in the market. So figuring that out was itself quite tough. We actually started with something, then we ended up on something, and then we realized, okay, none of this makes sense, let's do something completely different. So there was a lot of transitional ideas that happen when it comes to company incorporation and things like this. Usually the problem or the good thing is that whenever you want to start something, you basically rely on your family and friends, right? You immediately go to a friend, who is a CA, or you basically go to a family member, who has experience in that, and you tell them that, you want to get things going and you want to get things started. So all those operational things were done to us by people that we knew, and, they helped us, and I'm very grateful to them. But yeah, I think eventually I also realize, and I would also, I've seen the fact that whenever you are doing any business, right, or whenever you are getting into any kind of a work, you should, try and seek as much paid professional expertise as much as possible. You should not rely on free advices, because free advices can cost you a lot, in the long run. So that is something that, I've really learned. And I tell people that, whoever is an expert, you should always go to them. You should always be willing to pay that extra for a professional consulting advice. And when you are working, as far as possible, stay away from free advisors. Free advisors are not good.
So many people giving free advice, but it's always better to
Yeah, I
go
mean,
with the professional having proper knowledge. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I think there is no doubt. So I mean, this has also been a big change. So if you see the way we work today is we completely, even for the smallest thing, we take proper advice, and we have proper professionals who work with us, right? So, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy. I don't mind, paying them that extra thing. But I think I'm very happy with the kind of output that I get from them.
Great.
Yeah,
Moving to the last part of our podcast, rapid fire round. Okay.
sure.
So, Shobit, you are a coffee person or tea person?
No, I don't drink coffee, tea either. So,
Ah, okay.
yeah, so I am
Water
completely.
person.
Yeah. So I don't like any kind of acidic substance to go inside me. So neither tea nor coffee.
Oh. Meditation or exercise?
Yeah, I'm more of an exercise person. Yeah,
Who's the person who inspires you the most?
I think, yeah, my mom, dad. I think the emotions planning.
So, one habit that has positively impacted your life.
Habit of talking to professionals.
So, a biggest lesson you have learned in 2023 last.
Biggest lesson that I've learned in 20, have patience. Yeah, I think having more and more patience is what I've learned.
And the last question. So, if you could leave a note to future generation, what would you say? Like any future generation who's planning to start their own setup into the similar line, what kind of advice you like to give them?
I think the advice that I would like to give them, any future generation is, do their homework well. Okay, try and be ready for a lot of sacrifices. Because if you're not ready for a sacrifice, do not even attempt it. Okay, and I would tell them that be ready that even after a lot of sacrifices, even after doing a lot, you might end up getting nothing out of it, right? So in Gita it says that you should do your karma and not worry about the fall that you get out of it, right? So I think starting a business, it's that one line can summarize everything that you do into a business, right? So I think the only the only thing that today I worry about is how much is the work, how much is the effort that we are putting into. Okay, the outcome is something that has stopped impacting that much. So I think that is a piece of advice that I would like to give to people.
Okay, great. Thank you, Shobit, for such a wonderful session. Like, I really enjoyed talking to you.